You can do more to strengthen your brain than you can your heart, your teeth, your skin, or your vision. At least 45%, and I would say probably 60% of Alzheimer's can be prevented if we start in our 20s and 30s and doing things to intercept deficits at the earliest time period.
Welcome to BrainStorm by UsAgainstAlzheimer's, a patient-centered nonprofit organization. Your host, Meryl Comer, is a co-founder, 24-year caregiver, and Emmy Award-winning journalist, and the author of the New York Times bestseller, Slow Dancing with a Stranger.
This is BrainStorm, and I'm Meryl Comer. Joining us today, Dr. Sandra Bond Chapman, founder and chief director of the Center for Brain Health at UT Dallas. Her research shows how you can rewire your brain after 55, boosting neuroplasticity that can almost outperform those new biomarkers signaling Alzheimer's risk. Welcome, Sandy. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Meryl. I love being around you anytime. You push me to new frontiers. Really great to be here.
Sandy, update us on your ongoing brain health project that currently tracks around 40,000 people on what you call strategic reasoning training, or that BHI. Tell us why this is so important today.
We're in this era right now of longevity where people are living longer and wanting to live longer. Our lifespans now are 80. Our health span has gotten to be about 65 before we have any chronic disease, but our peak brain years are still stalled at 30.
Oh.
I know, exactly. Thank you. 50 years with our brain in a state of decline. So what we set out to do with the Brain Health Project is to see if we could change the trajectory of what's happening in healthy aging, not just dementia, but healthy people's brains starts to lose capacity starting in our 30s, so that we're in this kind of slowly loss. Well, that doesn't really make sense. We need to know the science behind what's possible. So we launched the Brain Health Project, which in 2020 as really to be a landmark study to enroll at least 100,000 people. And right now, as you said, we're 40,000 people. We're in every state. So wherever your listeners are, tell them they can be part of our Brain Health Project, and 65 countries. The only issue is they need to be English speaking at this time in terms of where we are. But we've already published 4 articles on it, and we've got 3 more pending. And the science, Meryl, is so exciting to see what's possible. And what you started off with is, can we strengthen our brain at 55? Well, I think one of the most surprising findings for me was that people in their 70s improve their brain as much as people in their 20s. So neuroplasticity is not something that really kind of stalls at a certain age. We can continuously take advantage of that. So that was really something that was a big finding for us, that people 20, 40, or 70 showed equal gains when they took advantage of the strategies. But the other thing that may be surprising is that whether you think, oh man, I am top of my game, I am so with it, we showed, even our peak performers showed significant gains.
That's great. And you call it a brain health index. So you're really, in some way, redefining what prevention's all about. What's part of that brain health index?
If you were to ask me, Meryl, what my greatest thing that I'm most excited about, the biggest breakthrough really is this multidimensional brain health index that we developed based on the last 3 decades of science. And we wanted to develop a measure that wasn't just a screening measure for Alzheimer's disease or mental health or people with social isolation or your memory function. We wanted something that holistically looked at how your brain keeps you functioning at your highest level day by day with whatever brain skills you have. Most tests that you take today, you would be like Meryl, maybe you would be in the 10th percentile. Maybe I'd be in the 50th percentile. This is not about what percentile you're in. It's you against you year by year. So whether you're a peak performer or the lowest of low functioning when you start, we look at someone's ability to continuously grow their brain health capacity. So the index has these different measures in it. And what our science informed us was these measures clustered in 3 separate domains. It's not exactly what we predicted, but it kind of is. One is one we call clarity. And clarity is this ability to abstract, to synthesize, to do critical reasoning, to do possibility thinking. So it's more than just your memory, but it's really your ability to engage with your brain to keep new learning going on. So that was one factor. The other factor was connectedness, and connectedness to people and to purpose. We didn't realize that our brain health can improve 1/3 by just our social relationships. How you prioritize and strengthen your connections to people and to purpose can be one of the greatest brain changers that you engage in. And the third factor is what we call emotional balance. So it's not experiencing stress, depression, or anxiety, because as you know, we're living in a world where that's rampant, but it's having emotional balance and knowing that you can find a way through. So the 3 factors that help with this brain health index are clarity, connectedness, and calm in the midst of change.
Share results from your MRI studies that appear essentially to almost outsmart or beat the traditional diagnostics. And is that a game changer?
There's 2 game changers. One is this behavioral index, the brain health index. That's a game changer, but we're pairing that with neural imaging. So 10% of our people, we have over 30,000 now, or 40,000 brain health indexes, but we also have over 1,200 brain scans where we're tracking people to see what are the changes in the brain when we see someone showing gains. So we're the first team, and we're a global team now, who've been able to show neural markers of your brain getting better.
Mm.
What happens when you get better on this behavioral index? What changes do we see in your brain? And some of the neurologists, Meryl, that we work with say, well, of course, when your behavior is getting better, your brain is changing, but we're documenting it from a very rigorous scientific perspective. And some of the changes that we're seeing is one of the big measures is what we call a hemodynamic response. And you may say, well, what is that? Well, when your brain activates to do a mental task, the brain blood flow is needed just in time for you to be able to do that.
Mm.
As we age or develop Alzheimer's disease or under constant stress, that gets a lot slower. So the vascular system doesn't feed the neuron just in time. So we see this sort of slowing of response. We've been able to show individuals who are 60 maybe have a hemodynamic response that's like a 30-year-old. So we can now look at the brain's biological age. That's a game changer.
You know, your large-scale database research has incorporated a sex and gender lens, which is so important. Are there differences in cognitive resilience and, BHI responses between men and women?
We do find that women are much more proactive about their brain than men because 75% of the people enrolled in our study are females. We also see that females are greater utilizers of these micro-learning strategies that we give individuals in the Brain Health Project. They're much more likely to engage with it than men. And we see that utilizing it is the thing that actually helps you to improve your brain health.
In fairness, let's not leave the men out. What are the study implications derived from your training that better optimize results for both sexes?
I had it predicted, Merle, and you would, I don't know if you would have the same one, but I said, I bet at baseline, women are going to be higher on the connectedness factor.
And they weren't?
They were not. They were not. One of the things that, in different cases that I'm seeing is men don't realize that when they improve it, that it adds to their overall brain health function. They focus more on their cognitive function. And so they're surprised when they begin to prioritize that. The other thing that I had predicted that what didn't turn out was I thought men would be better on emotional balance, because you always hear that men, women have much more anxiety, more depression, they endorse it a lot more. That didn't turn out either.
I think it's fascinating because women reportedly are more adapted hiding out longer in early stage disease like Alzheimer's, but we decline faster later because we're verbal. Let me put this in a context of what's going on today. And, today biomarkers like amyloid scans, we can label millions of people as pre-diseased.
Mm-hmm.
What are the pros and cons of this approach? I mean, do we really want to know 20 to 30 years ahead that we're going to get a disease? And how do we manage that? And does your work sort of counter that strategy?
I think that our work complements that strategy very much, because since we take a lifespan approach, we actually start in middle school, but for the project, people start at 18. So many of the individuals that we see are young, and they are seeing that as soon as they dip a little bit in one area, they can regain that. So it's really much more this proactive versus reactive thing that when you do some of these tests, that kind of alarm us. And I don't know, Meryl, in your audience, is if you find people work harder to keep their brain stronger out of fear, or out of just sort of this diligence to, I want my brain to be as strong as it can. We're kind of experiencing both ways. And I think it's important for individuals to decide for themselves. I don't necessarily advise someone to get a genetic testing until we get better treatments, but I would tell them, if I were you, I would treat myself as if I was going to get it and do everything possible to prevent it, given the new science that at least 45%, and I would say probably 60% of Alzheimer's can be prevented if we start in our 20s and 30s and doing things to intercept deficits at the earliest time period. So why not just act like I'm going to be at risk for it and I'm going to make sure I don't, and do everything possible versus fatalistic and just think, well, if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it. There's nothing I can do. You can do more to strengthen your brain than you can your heart, your teeth, your skin, or your vision.
I do know my numbers. I know I'm a 3-4. I know I'm at higher risk. I will do everything until the science catches up, right? So I am a prime candidate for your type of study. And I think a lot of people are, because there is fear, and let's do what we can and do everything but continue to take supplements, which have not been shown to be particularly effective. Does your research also challenge the one-size-fits-all brain fitness apps? Because we're all on them these days.
We see that one size can fit all to strengthen the brain in very significant ways in short periods of time. But what I would say is that to develop the self-agency that's needed, like to have choice. So if there is something, and it's something that we're changing with the Brain Health Project, where people can kind of choose what they want to do, this personalized approach with AI is now something that we see has to be personalized. Like you, Meryl, what would you like to do versus what I would like to do may be very different, and I'm going to be more motivated if you allow me to make choices based on what I do. So to get the habit formation with self-agency to really strengthen the brain in these significant ways, that's really what I think is going to help.
Sandy, when it comes to brain health, what are the hormonal influences like estrogen that are now being touted as boosting resilience in women?
We need to dig more, and we're working with Dr. Emily Jacobs to collect more data to do some of the blood sampling. So that's an area that we really want to increase the learning that we have. We do see, because sleep actually is a big part of what we look at. And we've just added Dr. Matt Walker, one of the world's top sleep experts. We see during perimenopause, problems with sleep escalate tremendously, and loss of sleep is associated with significant cognitive decline. We did do a phase 1 trial, not with the project, but another study looking at using our brain health index with women in this perimenopausal area time, going on to a sort of a cocktail of the different drugs. And so when we tested them, there were 42 of them that we matched with healthy controls. We found that they were much lower on the brain health index, and they were lower on all 3 factors. 6 months in after taking hormone therapy, they increased to the level of the healthy controls. And at 12 months, they maintained that area. So we do see that the possibility that hormone replacement therapy could be really critical in terms of what's going on to really take advantage of the neuroplasticity and brain reorganization that's taking place at that time. This was just a small trial, so I don't want to oversell what it did, but I do think we need more evidence related to that time period. The brain fog is real.
The brain fog is real.
The brain fog is real.
There are small trials that say the progesterone pills lift verbal memory early postmenopausal. Do we know whether it's hype? Do we know if it's a game changer right now?
Progesterone was part of one of the cocktail that was part of this study. We didn't look at it separately, so it's hard to know. Those studies are really hard to look at item by item what helps. I don't think it's a game changer, but it certainly is a lever.
Sandy, the term brainomics is one you coined and trademarked. What does it mean, and why should policymakers take it seriously?
We've spent so much time in health economics looking, Meryl, as you know, at the tremendous cost burden of loss of cognitive function from Alzheimer's disease, which we know is a big cost burden, to mental health. Well, what if we flipped the conversation and said, what if you figured out what would be the economic gain if you kept your brain where it is now for 5 more years? What would you be able to do 5 more years that if you were on in this decline, you could not do? What would have happened to the workplace if we were to show the tremendous gain that would happen to them economically if their employees had brain health and their brain was thriving from this holistic perspective?
You have really led the direction in Texas on what they call brain capital. And where is that going? I think you've gotten legislation passed to really put it a value proposition around the economics of keeping your brain healthy.
Mayor, we're Texas, so go big or go home. So we're put $3 billion, and I'm so excited. All of us are going to be applying for that money to really do this. Think about if a whole state could start something like the Brain Health Project, but where residents in rural areas, they wouldn't have to go to specialty centers to see what's going on, where we could track and really see where is your brain and how can we, at the very moment that you're starting to lose anything, that we can start to intervene right then. It can be the most significant brain changer, regardless of your education level, your rural area. So I think we now realize that to have a strong economy and a resilient society, it's non-negotiable that we have got to focus on our brain and its health and its ability to solve the complexity of the problems that our world is facing today. The solutions are inside our head. We need to keep our brain healthy longer.
What is your view on AI, how people use it? Is it a plus, a minus? What are the cautionary flags that go up with your background?
I think AI is here. I don't think anyone would go back to when we didn't have AI. We couldn't have done our brain health index without AI. We're able to give people in real time feedback from their brain health index that used to take 2 weeks for individual scoring. We're now getting where it's automatically scored by machine learning and AI and can spit back advice for people to do. I love AI. I love it. The roadblocks is that people are using it and it's dumbing down the brain. People are starting to use it and not thinking critically. We're worried about it in middle school, we're worried about it in college, we're worried about it in law, legal, every single profession, doctors using it versus using their mind. If you can't, it's hurting the ability to develop this executive function that we know is the most critical part to keep your brain healthy.
So you're really working on trying to improve neuroplasticity, not hand it off elsewhere, right?
You said it better than I did. Neuroplasticity, that if you can use AI and keep abreast of what's going on with it and harness your own brain's neuroplasticity, it can be a game changer. But they've been showing people that use it first, especially in colleges, the activity in their brain is significantly reduced versus people that use their mind to write essays. Well, that's scary if you're already starting. People know about it with GPS, that we have kind of lost this spatial navigation in our brain because of GPS. So we do know that it changes the brain when we over rely on our technology too much.
Are you a bit frustrated that we appear stuck on disease detection and not peak performance?
I am inspired. I'm not frustrated because of people like you and George Vradenberg that keep pushing the frontier on dementia prevention, brain health promotion. Uh, it takes time for policy, and I get that, but I am impatient. So frustrated, I would say, is not the right word, but boy, I'm ready to go fast because I'm getting older and I want people to realize what the potential each of you have right inside your head. And I'm ready to really kind of launch. We have the science for 3 decades to show that regardless of where people start, they can improve their brain.
You know the levers to pull. Tell us what's required if I want to get involved in the Brain Health Project. How much time does it take? What are the issues that always come up when people say, well, maybe I don't have time right now?
And that's what they always say. And I say, you don't have time. You're using your brain anyway. Don't you want to learn to have the guide to use it wiser? The good thing about your brain is you use it anyway. So we give you tips for how to do it. What's required is to do the brain health index to go on the website and sign up as a citizen scientist. thebrainhealthproject.org is where you sign up. You get a little instructions of what happens. It's confidential. You get to take the brain health index. It's free. If I were to charge you, if you were to come in person, it's $1,500. You get it regularly for free as if you're a citizen scientist. You get a coach to tell you what it means, but you also get your scores. And then you get to take advantage of the strategies. And what it involves is a total of about 30 minutes a week with 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes of just strategy, little sessions of how you're using your brain to make it more effective. You can have access to a coach every 3 months. We ask you to take the index at least every year, but you can take it every 6 months and you get the feedback and you get to track your performance over time. So it really is something that people are like, why wouldn't someone want to know this? Because it's the opposite of what's wrong with your brain. This is where you are. These are the things you can do to make your brain stronger.
Sandy, as you know, at Us Against Alzheimer's, our advocacy focuses on brain health, on building resilience earlier in life. So you've challenged us to sort of rethink what prevention and risk reduction truly means for women's brain health. Our guest has been Dr. Sandra Bond Chapman, founder of UT Dallas Center's Brain Health. If you want to check out your own BHI or Brain Health Index, test it for free at centerforbrainhealth.org. That's it for this edition. I'm Meryl Comer. Thank you for brainstorming with us.
Subscribe to BrainStorm through your favorite podcast platform and join us for new episodes on the first and third Tuesday of every month.